dodging all of the quick schemes. Money like
How
a
should I
Spotify boy, I got
introduce you?
10
You're a
streams.
professor or
And I'm
you're
still looking for more. My people, they got a soul. I'm putting that on the Lord. Ain't
researcher
accepting
from the
ignore,
Poznan
just kicking
University
down all the doors. Guarantee you, boy, if I ask for it, it's gotta be real big.
All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Real Talk podcast. This is either number 4 or number 5. We don't know. Anyway, today we have a very special guest with us, Maciej Komosiński. He is a researcher at the Poznan University of Technology. Maciej, maybe you want to say a few words about yourself or what you do?
What I do at the university, I usually work in optimization, computer optimization, machine learning, data analysis, simulations.
Maciej is an expert at AI. This guy, we could talk all day. We're going to try to keep it to like a half an hour max. But we could talk all day about artificial intelligence and algorithms with Maciej. He actually has his own YouTube channel. We're going to put up the link here for anyone who wants to check that out. It's awesome. What do you do mostly on your YouTube channel?
What do I do? Well, I have 2 YouTube channels, one Polish, one English.
Which one do you want to promote more?
Well, Polish is bigger, but I don't know if our audience today will understand Polish.
I'll give you both links in the description.
But anyway, I think most content is just lectures for students.
Okay.
So maybe not so appealing to any listener. But some of the videos are more casual.
Okay.
About everyday problems related to AI.
So do you have to have some kind of, do you have like a good, maybe an introductory video to AI on your?
Actually, the first video on the playlist, which is titled Artificial Intelligence, is about introduction, but it's only in Polish. So.
Okay. So if you know Polish, check that out. Or if you know English, check out his English channel. Both of them, I highly recommend. I only watched a couple of the videos, and to be honest, not all the way through. They were lectures, and I'm not smart enough to understand all of it. But there is a very cool video of you driving around Poland, checking out all the Tesla superchargers.
Yeah.
What was the thought behind that video? Why did you make that one?
On the 3 of them. We had to go to Kraków anyway, so it was just only a small distraction to visit all 3 places.
So it was just a spontaneous idea.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, in fact, I was asked by another YouTube channel to prepare something like this.
Okay. Nice. Very good. All right. Well, this is a podcast about real estate. So we're going to try to tie in real estate into these topics today. But the first question I want to ask you is many famous people, you probably know which ones I'm talking about.
I know.
Many famous people say that AI is very dangerous, that, you know, if we go in the wrong direction, the world could go down. There's been movies made about this.
Sure.
So is that true?
It is.
It is.
It is.
The answer is yes.
Yes, the answer
so
is
should
yes.
we all just like build bunkers and go in our basements and hide, or?
It's simply a powerful tool, and every powerful tool may be dangerous and may be wonderful. So it's the same with artificial intelligence. But artificial intelligence is not dangerous per se as artificial intelligence because artificial intelligence itself is like an abstract thing.
Okay.
The danger comes from connecting artificial intelligence to some actions in real world. So as long as we do not connect artificial intelligence to real world, then it is safe.
But we are connecting, right?
Yeah, we are. We want to do this. So hence,
it's
the danger.
Okay, so I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but like you're saying that the danger is real. But let's say we have, and my question is this. For example, nuclear weapons. We have them and they could explode, like they could kill us all, right?
Yeah.
They exist, but they haven't, luckily, killed us all yet. Is artificial intelligence at that stage, like does it exist somewhere and it has the potential, or are we still evolving this scary aspect of the technology?
Yeah, you don't even have to think about artificial intelligence. That's exactly the question, whether a human presses the button or some algorithm presses the button. And the algorithm doesn't have to be especially complex like AI. It can be a simple rule. If you see 4 rockets flying at your direction, then launch your rockets. Okay. So no big AI, but a machine making this decision.
Gotcha.
And it is dangerous because it is connected to a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
Like I said.
Right. So if we connect, so that's the issue, is connecting it to the dangerous parts of our world.
Yes, and maybe moving a human outside of this decision loop.
Okay, got you. So like iRobot, you've seen the movie?
Yeah.
What do you think about that movie? Is that something that might come to us one day?
Yeah, maybe eventually. And another issue is
Yeah.
about this moving a human outside of this decision loop, is that in this particular example, quite a good example of nuclear weapons, we do not have enough time for a human to make a decision. So we, in a way, we need to put the algorithm in this deciding
Do I understand
place.
you correctly? Like in a way that might even help us, that might save us, if someone is
In case of nuclear weapons, maybe not the best example of saving somebody.
Okay. But we could also use
But
it for good.
But a quick decision may be necessary in order for it to make sense, because a human, for example, would not be able to react so quickly to some danger.
Okay, so it also could save us. So we don't have to all panic.
Like autonomous cars, for example, is a good example.
Yeah.
For example, humans may be too slow to stop a car or to react, or to, for example, to perceive so much data around them.
Okay. So it's not all bad. A lot of it is good.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So we don't have to
Like-
hide in our bunkers yet.
Just like fire.
Just like fire.
Maybe good, maybe bad.
Okay, good one. All right. So let's try to shift this into real estate a little bit. In the real estate world, there are a lot of jobs that are tied strictly to data. Primarily to data, like appraising real estate properties or assessing risk for mortgages, all this kinds of stuff. Do you feel, in your knowledge, does it seem like these jobs are truly going to disappear, as everyone is worried that they are in the coming years?
That's another maybe more general question, because when you analyze data,
Yeah.
you have this technical part, so to say, like statistics, for example. You compute something, you draw charts, and then you have this intention. Why are you doing this? And intention is usually comes from humans. So this will not go away because we do this for some purpose. But this AI will maybe serve more as a tool, as a more powerful tool to analyze the data. But as I said, somebody has some intention and does this for some reason.
Right.
And this reason part will stay with humans.
So the reason part is going to stay as a job for like some maybe higher level managers. Am I understanding you correctly? And these
exactly.
like
Yes, exactly. Yes.
an analyst won't have their job.
You understood this perfectly, and this is what I often say, that as long as we use artificial intelligence in a more broader sense, we will more often say what I want to do and not how I want to achieve this.
Okay.
So again, a perfect analogy is a car. You do not need to drive a car from point A to point B. You say, I want to go to point B, and this is your intention, this is your goal, and you do not need to care about how to drive a car in every moment along this journey. Okay, so
Right. Okay.
So the same with real estate, I guess. That is statistic. For example, you will say, I want this data to be analyzed. I want to discover all trends. I want to discover all regularities in the data. But it's a human who will draw conclusions and interpret the data.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. And in that case, if you have a person who's working, actually, I don't even know where I was going with this idea. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
wanted to ask about those jobs which will go away and which jobs will stay. And you correctly said about this management, for example, at higher levels. And I often actually make jokes that we will have more and more managers and more higher level staff, because this is about those directions where we want to go.
Right.
And it's actually inevitable that many lower level or simpler jobs will go away. That is, I think it will happen.
What if someone is watching this and they have this lower level job? They're just analysts. All they do is analyze the job of, the how.
Yeah.
Is there any advice you could give this person, or what can they do? Should they even be worried? Like in the next 20 or 30 years, is it going to go away, or do we have time?
I myself am not especially worried about jobs going away and about this need that every human must work, because if it is all about work, you can work for free if it is necessary for your well-being. For example, you can do something even if it's not.
No one's paying you to work out, right?
Even if it is not needed. But I agree that in some intermediate term, when this AI takes some jobs, it may be hard for some people. But in general, I think it will be for the good, because we will simply not need, not have to work. Okay. But of course, it's easy to say. But if, as you said, if you are that very person who loses job because of AI, then you may be worried.
When you say this intermediate, because if I understand you correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that over the long term, AI is going to simplify our markets, do a lot of the work that people just have to do today, and it's going to mean that those people don't have to work anymore, but not necessarily that they can't live happily. They just don't have to work. Okay.
Because that's about the question: why or what for do you need? What do you need to work for?
Right.
Okay. What's your motivation to work? Either money, or just the pleasure of working. So the pleasure stays, because even if it's not necessary, you still may have this pleasure. And money, I guess, we will have enough means to survive, to eat, to be happy, because of AI.
Got you. Okay. And this intermediary term.
Intermediate term, yeah.
Yeah. So, who should be worried, and what should they do? And how when I know no one knows for sure how long it's going to be, but when you imagine it in your head, how long do you think this term is? It's going to be the next 5 years, the next 30 years, in 10 years, for 10 years, or?
Maybe
roughly.
I will explain what I will try to explain what I meant by this intermediate term. I often give an example of this job of somebody who was developing photos on paper film. Okay. We know that there were many people doing this, and then we have this era of digital photography, and we no longer need them. So this is an example of a job who was lost, and many people were unhappy. Those people who did this job, okay? But what happened to the rest of us? The rest of us do not need to pay those people, because everybody has a smartphone and makes photos, okay? So we have some, so to say, distributed good for everyone. We do not need to pay those people, and some specific people were unhappy because they lost their job. And it will happen more and more and more with more and more jobs. So some specific people will be unhappy, but overall everybody will be empowered, so to say.
Okay.
They will not have to. So this is what I call this intermediate term, that overall will because
everyone has a smartphone, so they can take the pictures. They're all happy.
Yeah,
but
because imagine some other job, not this job of developing paper photos, some other job. Some other person will lose this other job, but at the same time, this other person does not have to pay for developing photos. Okay, so everybody slowly,
probably more people
becomes
will
more
benefit.
Powerful, but some individual people will suffer. Okay.
And what? Too bad for them.
Yeah, I think so. So you asked for advice.
Yeah.
Probably the advice is always to adapt. Try to adapt. I know it's hard. But for example, when you look at some governments and the decisions they make, those decisions are often irrational, because some governments invest in old technologies. I mean, they are making people not trying to adapt, for example. Right?
Yeah. We see that all the time.
Like, for example, preserving coal mines and so on, where everybody knows what will happen in the future. Still, governments try to preserve coal mines, for example.
Right.
So that's actually making world harder for people, because they will not adapt, and we know at the same time that this battle is lost.
So I get.
Sorry, can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Do you think that universities are ready for this?
Universities. For those changes.
For those changes, of preparing young people for new challenges.
I think at least universities are good, because they make people learn all the time, so they get used to the need to adapt all the time and learn all the time. But it's a good question regarding, for example, teaching, in my case, teaching artificial intelligence. Because another topic I talked about on my channel, quite recently, like literally 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I recorded a video about this, about a breakthrough in machine learning and in artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence algorithms are now able to create other machine learning algorithms so that human researchers are, so to say, no longer needed. I don't want to say no longer needed because it is a gradual process and will take many years, but it's, I mean, everybody knew, even 20 years ago, everybody knew that it will happen eventually.
Right.
And now we are at this time when it starts to happen. So the same thing with human coders, with programming, right? Artificial intelligence can now write simple programs. Today it's simple programs, tomorrow it will be more complex programs. So computer scientists are not safe and, because they are creating, or they are making,
I'm sorry.
making their own jobs go away.
Right. Have you heard of this website? I think I mentioned it to you a minute ago, but Will Robots Take My Job? You said you heard about websites like this, right?
Like this, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a website you can go to, and where are they getting this data from? Do you know how they analyze? It's a website you go to, and you type in what job you have, what industry you work in, and it tells you what probability that job will be taken by AI or robots in the future. Do you know what are they basing this
I think
percentage on?
the data itself doesn't have to do much with artificial intelligence. Probably it's some prediction by experts in the field of jobs
Okay.
and
So,
economy.
like AI experts like yourself, perhaps, that are estimating when AI will get to a phase where it can take over this type of job?
Maybe those people asked other experts in every particular field what they think when it will happen.
How far?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's try to go back a little bit more into real estate. So we talked about jobs that are data-driven, like an appraiser or a risk, someone who analyzes data in the real estate industry. What about someone who doesn't do so much with data? Like, let's just talk about a salesperson. A salesperson, of course, handles a lot of data. Perhaps AI tools will just make their lives easier, but they also have to do a lot of human contact. And they have to, a good real estate agent can tell when a neighborhood is up and coming, right? They can give you a good prediction on when which neighborhood might rise in value. So what a good property to buy is. Are their jobs also threatened? Or do you see a place where AI can decide some kind of information that doesn't seem very easy to perceive? Like, it's kind of, it's just a good agent can feel which neighborhood is going to rise, right? So can AI feel that? Can it get this kind of feeling?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question because there are two answers to this question.
Okay.
One is that because it's more or less about machine learning, about trying to discover some patterns in data. And one answer is that machine learning can only discover as much as it is to be discovered in the data. So it cannot go beyond the data. If it doesn't know, or if it cannot know, then it won't know. But another answer is that machine learning may be much better in discovering some nuances in data than human are.
Okay, so if you think you have a really good, what's the word I'm looking for?
If there,
intuition?
If there is, for example, some trend in data, it may be the case that a human will not capture this and machine learning will capture this as long as it is in the data. And if it isn't in the data, then it may be the case that the human will be better because of some background knowledge which was not included in the data. So this is why we want to have as much as possible in the data, even things which may look like unrelated, because there always may be some relationship we are not aware of.
Okay, got you. So, but you're saying that it is possible, maybe in some cases a human will still be better at it, but it is possible for AI to have an intuition, so to speak. It can just feel.
No, it's not a good term.
It's not a good term,
But
I understand.
But it may be extremely careful to the slightest changes which humans completely ignore. And you can see example of this in medicine, for example, in analyzing images, where, for example, it's often the case that human doctors, for example, who learned their job like the entire life are unable to explain why they take some decisions. For example, distinguishing like a tumor and a health issue. And AI is able to discover the same thing, maybe even unable to explain as well, because we have some models in artificial intelligence which are unable to clearly tell why they think so. But I mean, artificial intelligence can be as good as a human and even better because it can discover everything that is useful in the data.
Right. I remember I'm interested in poker. And I remember Daniel Negreanu is like one of the most infamous poker players, like one of the biggest in the world. And he said something similar to exactly what you were just saying, that sometimes a good poker player will make a decision and they can't even tell you why they made that decision. They just like have seen so many instances of a similar situation.
Like an unconscious decision or an intuition, as you said.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. And so, so in your opinion, I know it's hard to say, but in your opinion, are these kinds of jobs that require a little bit of an intuition, are they also in danger or not as much?
I think yes.
Yes? Okay. But generally you don't seem to be very worried. You seem like we're going to do great as a society, even when these jobs start being
because
taken.
of the reasons I explained earlier.
Because it's just going to make all our lives easier.
That you can do your work, if you like it so much, you can do it even if it's not strictly necessary to do it.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we shouldn't be too worried.
It depends on every person. Because some people are, again, a good analogy is playing games. For example, take chess. For a long time in human history, the best I don't know how to say, entity to play chess was a human. And at some point, computer programs were better. And the good question is whether you lost your enjoyment with playing chess once you know that you cannot be ever the best entity in the entire universe playing chess.
Right.
Okay? And there are other games like Go and so on. So for example, at some point probably computers will be better at almost every game. And does it take away the pleasure of playing games from you?
Right. Understand.
And that's the question everybody has to answer. And some people will say yes, some people will say no. Because for some people, the only motivation to learn something is to be the best. Among everything that exists. So
it's just going to be the best among humans, not the best ever.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. Okay. And let's try to wrap it up slowly here. I know we could go on for hours easily, but for someone who maybe knows about AI, obviously, I think like you said before we started recording, you said that it's almost impossible for someone not to have heard about AI or to perhaps have heard at least that it's endangering a lot of jobs or something like this. What if someone has heard about AI, but they don't really know much about it, but they do believe it's the future? Maybe they're even interested. Maybe they'll become some kind of person who works on AI algorithms or something. Where do they go? What's a good place to start if you want to learn more about AI and how it might take over the world?
You asked me about movies, for example, so I wouldn't probably encourage to watch like Hollywood movies.
Okay.
Because we know what they show usually. Probably some documentaries are a good point.
On Netflix, you talked about Go. There's that documentary about the computer that started being the best Go player in the world. Have you seen that one? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
AlphaGo.
AlphaGo? Yeah, AlphaGo.
AlphaGo was the name of the algorithm, which became famous.
I think the movie was also called AlphaGo.
Okay.
Yeah. So you haven't seen this movie, though?
No, but I know a lot about
it.
I even recorded a video about it.
Okay, awesome.
About how it works.
Well, is that a good starting place maybe for someone to learn?
Such movies like this are, I think, a good starting point. Because there is not so much hype in them, and you can learn actually some truth.
I can't say as much as Maciej could, I'm sure, but I have seen the movie and it seemed very like beginnerish. It's not like you have to know a lot of information about algorithms or anything to understand the movie. It explains everything pretty well.
Yes, so there are a lot of movies like this, not too difficult for beginners, and at the same time you will learn very specific things without so much hype, quite down-to-earth movies.
Right. You can, of course, go to Maciej's YouTube channel and learn a lot. The best person to learn from over here.
If you're Polish.
If you're Polish. But you have some English videos too, right? On your English
Yes,
channel.
but they are mostly about some other topic called artificial life. It's more about, I mentioned this as well, multi-agent simulations. So it's about trying to simulate reality in a computer. And it's the purpose may be similar to machine learning and to data analysis, because you take some part of reality, you build a simulation model, and you try to match those two so that they correspond to each other.
Right.
And this way you have like a tiny simulated world in a computer, and you can do predictions as well, as long as what you build corresponds strongly.
This is what your English
to
channel
reality.
focuses on. you're
Mostly,
saying,
yeah, mostly.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
called artificial life.
Yeah.
All right.
Multi-agent simulation.
So generally documentaries.
I would recommend, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I think that's it. We're going to talk about for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Check out Maciej's YouTube channel. It's awesome. Check out, especially if you want to learn anything in depth about AI.
These are lectures for students. So
They're lectures for students, so yeah, they're I think
very long and very
yeah,
detailed.
they're like an hour long.
1.5 hours.
Yeah, 1.5 hour, one and a half hours long. So, but they go very in depth. They're awesome. Maciej, you are an awesome guest. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time on the Real Talk Podcast. Bye, guys.
Stayed up on the grind on the cars is real big. I gotta do it big, the only way that I can live. And I promise I'm trying to. Before you count me out, homie, let me remind you. They was blocking the shine, now I think it's my time to. Counting them dollar signs like lights, they'll blind you. Let me rewind to. Back when I was broken, I couldn't acquire 2 cents. And now I got 2 rents. They was sleeping on me, homie, must have got too big. Call my phone, I be like, who this? Damn right, hell yeah, I'm brand new. Smell like can too. I'm fresh forever like canned food. Try and tell me what I can.